universities that comprise the University of Illinois system, UIS offers a uniquely student-centered educational experience, both in and out of the classroom through active learning, meaningful research, and impactful civic engagement that has prepared graduates to contribute fully to society. It may come as no surprise that we hold the distinction as the best public regional university in Illinois and the fourth best in the Midwest. UIS strives to be a leader in all that we do, and for the past year and a half, that aspiration has heavily influenced how we've approached the pandemic health crisis. At UIS, we are united in safety. It has been a challenging year, but thanks to our partners and our experts at the state and local level, we've been able to take courageous actions to prioritize the health and safety of our students, our faculty, and our staff. I want to especially welcome the state senators and representatives who have joined us here today. Many of you have been on the UIS campus past. Many of you all are alums, I'm learning today, and appreciate so much, and or have alums in your family, and we're happy to have you here today. We hope you will visit us often. Today it is my great privilege to be in the company of Governor Pritzker, who has not only courageously led Illinois through this pandemic, has continued his commitment to expand opportunities that support students who are seeking to be admitted to Illinois public universities such as UIS. Governor Pritzker, thank you for your leadership lived and for joining us on our campus today. Welcome to UIS.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much to Interim Chancellor Karen Whitney and to the University of Illinois Springfield for hosting us this afternoon. I also want to welcome Leader Dave Kaler, who's here with us from Peoria, Senators L.G. Sims, Sally Turner, Doris Turner, and Representatives Lance Yednock, Ryan Spain, Nick Smith, who will be joining us a little bit later, Mike Murphy, and Tim Butler. Also, Senators Steve McClure and Representatives Carol Ammons and Representative Katie Stewart. This morning, I joined Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, the Department of Agriculture Director Jerry Costello, and a host of other elected officials to honor 358 Illinois farm families whose legacies stretch back 100 years, 150 years, even 200 years in Illinois. And I just got back from Peoria, where we announced a major investment in maintaining the long tradition of the Illinois Air National Guard's mission to keep our nation and our state safe. They are among the great Illinoisans who make our state the best in the nation. So it's only fitting that we gather this afternoon to recognize another milestone of Illinois' leadership, this time in agriculture and in innovation. Today we honor the role of our state in launching one of the first and most important antibiotics onto the world stage and saving hundreds of millions of lives around the globe. In 1928, it was still the case that an infected scratch or cut could be a death sentence. That year, a British researcher made a discovery that had the potential of making something like that a death sentence, but the potential that he found in the microbe that he discovered is in the ability to save so many lives, and it was at the time the ability to make the death sentence nothing more than an annoyance. So penicillium could save lives, but it could only become useful if it could be replicated and widely available. Thanks to the team at the Peoria-based National Center for Agriculture Utilization Research, known as the Ag Lab, penicillin yield soared, a product of Peoria's preeminence as a city amidst some of the greatest corn-growing farmland in the world. It's no secret that penicillin production is an achievement that Peoria takes great pride in, but as of today, it becomes a point of pride for all of Illinois with new status as our official state microbe. What seems to have gotten lost in the story, however, is the true story of the famed Moldy Mary, who, as so many incredible women before and after her, had seen her accomplishments overshadowed by men. Some who wrote the history called her a mere housewife, a messenger girl, offering a cantaloupe from the market up to scientists in the name of service to her country. But in fact, as researchers at Peoria Public Library have shown, Mary Hunt worked with penicillin at the research lab itself, even when there were few women in the field. According to the library, the laboratory's team wrote, "We are likewise indebted to Miss Mary K. Hunt for collecting samples of moldy materials and for assisting in the isolation and preliminary testing of many strains." Women in this audience and other audiences today will find it unsurprising that one of the lab's supervisors would later admit, quote, "There are much more important things to write about than moldy Mary." You can guess which of the two of them was honored with the Presidential Medal for Merit and which was not. So the additional legislation that I'll sign today will help Illinois not to lose any more Marys to history by recognizing the value of agricultural science in our education system for students of all backgrounds. This expansion of agricultural education options was made possible by students, teachers, FFA clubs, and lawmakers coming together to ensure that high school students in Illinois can access the tools they need to continue our proud Illinois agriculture tradition. By supporting our young learners who want to take ag sciences through to a university education and beyond, Illinois is diversifying what it means to learn, to grow, to innovate, and to set the stage for our future generations to make their mark on history and live their dreams. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to the state representative from this area, and that's Senator Doris Turner.
Good afternoon. This is a very special moment for me because being new to the state Senate, this was one of the first bills that I put forth. And I really believe that this bill has the potential to change the trajectory of young lives and the future of family farms in Illinois. So I'm really proud to be here today as we sign Senate Bill 1624 into law, an effort that highlights the importance of agricultural science and studies for our students. Agricultural educational programs not only teach students how to be farmers, but also train our future scientists, nutritionists, teachers, and so much more. A combination of classroom instruction and applied agriculture experiences outside of the classroom build the foundation for educated consumers and agriculturalists. Unfortunately, its exclusion as a science course option for college admission did students a huge disservice. Our students should feel confident and passionate about their career choices when choosing to study multidisciplinary sciences. The study of agriculture is vitally important, and our curricula should reflect that. This was, as Governor Pritzker said, this was a movement that was not mine alone. I have to recognize the Future Farmers of America that were the inspiration and driving force behind this legislation, and a few of them are here with us today, and I'd like to recognize them. State Reporter Lauren Moore, State Secretary Gracie Murphy, Section 7 President Levi Mayfor, and Section 16 President Maxwell Berry. And I would also like to recognize Jeff Merhofer, who one of Illinois' outstanding high school agriculture teachers, who took his time and assisted with the legislation and also testified during Senate hearings. So again, I am extremely proud to have championed this legislation. Agriculture is an economic engine that drives the 48th district, our state, and our country, and our students should be free and, quite frankly, encouraged to explore all that the agriculture experience has to offer. And at this time, I would invite Representative Yagnat to the podium.
Good afternoon. I'm Lance Yednock from the 76th District. And I want to first thank Governor Pritzker for signing SB 1624 and Senator Turner for sponsoring the bill and asking me to support the measure in the House. I also want to thank both chambers for working together to pass this legislation. We know that agriculture is the cornerstone of the Midwest economy, especially here at home in Illinois. So many Illinois families and local economies rely on agribusiness and many other related industries. We certainly want to encourage more of our homegrown students to take up agri-science and stay in our state and our state colleges and universities. In addition to ag science, students who look for more career technical education in secondary school should have the same opportunity as those in more traditional courses. So many new students are coming from non-traditional, non-farming traditional families in their backgrounds these days because agribusiness and agri-science is more than just traditional family farming. Future scientific discoveries can be made here in Illinois. Because of Senate Bill 1624, one of our sons or daughters could be the person who solves our biggest issues like producing more food while conserving our national resources, leading to a better environment, an economy, and the world. We need to do everything we can to encourage future leaders to take the next steps to higher education with a focus on an agri-science degree. We also need future leaders, managers, and company owners to have the same opportunities for education as others. SB 1624 is a step in the right direction to encourage homegrown students to attend state colleges and become our future leaders in this state. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce Senator Sims.
Thank you. My name is L.G. Sims. I have the honor and privilege of being a state senator of the 17th Legislative District, but also the sponsor of Senate Bill 2182. Senate Bill 2182 talks about expanding our opportunities for our young people. Now, I'm going to, for a moment, Chancellor, reminisce for a little bit as I look around. When I was a student here at the University of Illinois at Springfield, the place didn't look like this. But this is tremendous facility, and the development that's happened here on this campus is a true example of what we're trying to do with the legislation that the governor is going to sign here in the law in just a little bit. It's about creating opportunities, about creating pathways for young people, about allowing individuals to reimagine the direction that they're going to go. You know, Milton Berle once said that if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. This is what we are attempting to do here with one of the state's largest economic engines, our agricultural industry, build doors to opportunity. I am so proud of the work that our agricultural community does on a daily basis, not just to feed themselves, but to feed the world, to feed the state of Illinois, to make sure that we stay at the cutting edge of providing for people around the world, people that we will never see. So I'm so honored to have led the charge for passing this legislation in the Senate, but making sure that we are creating opportunities for young people, these amazing young people who are here with us today from the Future Farmers of America, and young people who we have not seen and we don't see. I'm going to take a moment to recognize my chief of staff, the junior senator of the 17th district, my daughter, who is here with us today. Those are the types of opportunities we're trying to create, pathways to success for young people. So I'm so proud of the work that we are doing to increase opportunities for young people in this state of Illinois, and we'll continue to work together. With that, I want to introduce and bring to the podium Representative Spain.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for joining today. I don't know if you can see it, there's a fun little step on the back of this podium that I'm pretty excited about. So maybe we can have this to travel with in the future. Well, good afternoon. I'm State Representative Ryan Spain, and as a proud resident of Peoria, I'm so pleased for this amazing recognition today for our community and for the USDA Ag Lab in Peoria. As you have heard, Peoria has had a long history of incredible innovation, research and development, and most importantly, implementation. Not only did the mass production of penicillin in Peoria change the world by helping us win World War II and saving countless lives across the globe, but it also provided an important recipe that I think we should follow here in Illinois today. Currently, as many investments in our country for research and development have migrated to the East and West Coast, this recognition today and this bill signing is a reminder that there is a place for discovery and implementation here in Illinois. That's why in my hometown, which is actually the hometown of Representative Butler as well, but in my hometown of Peoria, we are launching Peoria BioMade, a comprehensive effort to return biomanufacturing and pharmaceutical mass production to Central Illinois. In our community, our strong workforce, skilled in agricultural research and healthcare delivery, make for a perfect combination to generate jobs in the production of new drugs, therapeutics, and biotechnologies. We are collaborating with leading biotech entrepreneurs in San Diego and Boston to bring discoveries from the coast back to Peoria for last-mile testing and full-scale production. These will be the manufacturing jobs of the future, jobs that pay high wages and provide great benefits for our employees and their families. By making this a top priority for our community, I am confident that the Peoria BioMade initiative will transform economic development in downstate Illinois, and it will pave the way to the next great Peoria discovery, just like this one that we're talking about today, that will go on to change the world. Thank you very much, and I'm pleased to introduce the Senator for the 46th District, Senator Dave Kaler.
Thank you, Ron. Well, I heard that maybe I got extra credit for a visual aid, so Governor, what I have here in my hand is the penicillin rubens mold, NRRL 1951, isolated from the cantaloupe melon that was discovered in Peoria by Mary Hunt back in 1941. This is the actual penicillin mold right here. You can all look at that. Mary Hunt became a legend in what we call her now as Moldy Mary, and featured in this painting, if you'll see, where is the painting at? Right here. And this painting is at the Riverfront Museum in Peoria. It's on loan from the University of Wisconsin, but certainly she is somebody to be celebrated in the history of not only Peoria, but this state. I'm happy to report that the Peoria penicillium strain is still being used to produce penicillin in this country. In fact, our strain is used to produce penicillin commercially in Illinois by Baxter Pharmaceuticals in Chicago. Penicillin was originally developed because of the injuries that our soldiers were receiving in World War II. And what happened was gangrene was setting in. So if you had a bacterial infection, there was no way to treat it. Penicillin stopped that. Penicillin stopped that, and it saved, as the governor said, thousands and really millions of lives. I want to recognize a couple of people who are scientists from Peoria. So Gary Kunziar and Neil Price, if you'd raise your hand. I also just want to mention Dr. Pat Dowd. These gentlemen are from the Illinois State Microbe Designation Project. I didn't think you know that there was one. These are from the Illinois State Microbe Designation Project. They are scientists. They work at a facility in Peoria, which I won't mention because this wasn't a sanctioned event by that facility, but you know what I'm talking about. And they persisted in making sure that penicillin and the history of how it was developed in Peoria had its proper standing within the history of our state. And so, Governor, I would like to invite you back up to the podium to sign this legislation. Thank you very much for recognizing this important product in the history of Peoria.
Thank you, and happy to take any questions from members of the media.
Governor, on this, one of those bills talking about opening up doorways, and if anybody wants to address this, how exactly is that going to happen? What kind of policies might change to allow for more inclusion in these fields?
Sure, I'll ask the sponsors if they want to step up and talk about, providing credit for our students.
Thank you, Governor. Certainly. It creates pathways. Senate Bill 2182 allows us to continue to think about how we address individuals who, as we're here at this wonderful university, not everybody's going to go to college. However, if you are going to be able to take agricultural science as one of your course credits for science for credit, that's how it creates pathways. It allows for individuals who are these young people who are taking agricultural science. It allows them to meet the science requirement in high school. So as they move to college, they've got that background. So it allows them to expand their horizons. Again, opens up those pathways to success.
Governor, obviously the city is planning, Chicago is planning to reintroduce its mask mandate. When do you think the state might do something like that?
Well, as you know, we have required masks in schools across the state to keep our kids safe, to keep the teachers and everyone who works in those schools safe, as well as the parents and grandparents who pick up and drop off their kids, and as well other mitigations like requiring our staff in our most vulnerable facilities, treating our most vulnerable patients across the state to get vaccinated. So, I'm very pleased when a local government takes action to make sure that the people who live in that community, or in this case in that city, safer. Those mitigations, depending upon the situation of that local community, can be vital for just furthering the goals that we have to keep everyone safe and healthy.
But when might you implement or consider implementing an indoor mask mandate statewide? I mean, given that cases are rising.
We already have, as you know, a very strong recommendation from the CDC to wear masks. I think everyone that's in this room is wearing a mask. We're indoors together. That's a great idea. We're going to, I haven't been reticent to consider mitigations when they're necessary. And of course, we're always watching the numbers to make sure that we're bending the curve as we need to.
And, we've seen other states who open their schools a little bit, start classes sooner than we did here in Illinois. A lot of them, entire classes had to be quarantined.
That's right.
Teachers out sick. Does the state have any contingency plans for remote learning? I know, something that we passed this spring kind of discourages remote learning, if not outright, says we can't do that anymore.
Well, that's not the case. Certainly where there are outbreaks, where there are challenges for schools to remain open, we've seen across the nation that this has happened, as you pointed out. Many of those outbreaks have occurred in places where they aren't requiring masks in schools, and indeed in some states where they are prohibited from requiring masks in schools. In Illinois, if there's an outbreak, if there's a challenge to the health of people in schools, it is up to the school and the school district to decide whether or not there will be remote learning made available. Very importantly, significant resources have been made available not just by state government but by the federal government to every school district in the state of Illinois so that they can provide that kind of remote learning, again, to keep families, communities, and kids safe.
Governor, you have a lot of lawmakers in town this week, obviously for State Fair and other events. You also have people coming into town tomorrow for a energy rally. When is the energy deal going to come together and have a bill that's passed to your desk?
I should call all the members of the General Assembly that are here today to the podium to answer that question. It's certainly up to the General Assembly to take up the bill that's been put forward and or to negotiate with one another. It doesn't take outside organizations to negotiate a bill that goes through the legislature. They can work with one another to reach compromise if they feel like the bill that's in front of them isn't one that they can get through. But I have to say, we have a bill that's got about a year and a quarter of working groups that have met on a very regular basis that have included outside organizations as well as members of the General Assembly in order to come to an agreement. And I would say that this bill that's before them now is about 97% agreed upon. And so it's just that last little bit that people have to come around. And I would like to see a vote taken on the bill that's there. But if there are changes that need to be made, again, the legislature is considering those now.
Agriculture groups have raised several issues with this energy legislation. Eminent domain issues, a power line that goes across southern Illinois. Yeah. They say they want reliable and efficient, cost-efficient energy, and they believe that coal provides that. What do you say to those ag groups on Ag Day that have those concerns about the energy?
Well, you raised coal for a moment. I'll just say that we've made it possible within the bill that's been put forward for coal plants to stay open until 2045. That's an awfully long time from now, 24 years from now. I just want to make that clear. I think people have lost sight of that. I've spoken with a number of people who have said they're opposed to the energy bill because they're concerned about those coal plants closing, who don't seem to understand that these are not coal plants that are closing tomorrow, that there's 24 years potentially for those coal plants to remain open. Having said that, like I said, there were a year and a quarter of these working groups that got together, lots of discussion, disagreement, compromise that was reached. It's clear that not everybody got what they wanted. In fact, that's sort of the definition of compromise, is you have to give up a little something on your side. Other people on the other side have to give up a little something in order that you can meet in the middle.
And then also farm groups, they're worried about property taxes in Illinois. They own a lot of property. They have concerns. I know that the budget gives more to schools, and that does help alleviate some of those pressures, but it doesn't reduce property taxes, which are the second highest in the country.
You know, you raise a good point. This is a great year for local communities to consider freezing or lowering their property taxes. You know that those are controlled at the local level. And so I encourage communities locally to make that decision. Why is this a good year to do that? Schools received not only increased funding from the state of Illinois, but received a boatload of support from the federal government as well. And they also received a lot of support for local infrastructure, again, from the state of Illinois as well as from the federal government. Those are things that take local property taxes typically to pay for them. So what a great moment for people to lower property taxes across the state.
How would you respond to people who view your refrain from implementing a mask mandate as being related to your re-election campaign and maybe fears that you're, going to anger voters?
Have you seen me reticent to consider mitigations or to impose mitigations for political reasons? No, you have not. I'm following the science, listening to the doctors. We're doing what we think is necessary, and if we need to do more than what we're doing today, we will do that.
Governor, if I may follow up on Mike's
Brendan.
question on energy. You have brought up repeatedly how you have compromised, environmentalists have compromised a lot to get to the bill that you've been championing. Is there any more room to move, though, especially considering all that's at stake with Exelon's nuclear power plants to close in September, potentially?
I have the same concerns everybody else does. We have jobs at stake here. We've got the environment to consider. I mean, these are all things that I am very concerned about. And that's why bringing everybody together over the course of a year and a quarter was so important. This isn't the kind of legislation that you can have 5 people go into a back room and craft and then spring it on everyone and have it voted on. Indeed, that has been done in the past, and it wasn't done properly. And indeed, you've seen that there have even been charges brought against a major company when things like that have happened. So, look, I believe that we are very, very close to compromise and to a good piece of legislation that everyone can accept. I'm always open to discussing changes that needed to be made, but I will say that I think an awful lot has been put forward here that makes sense for everybody. I mean, we literally have thousands of jobs at stake in the nuclear industry and hundreds of jobs available in the coal and natural gas industry, and there was compromise brought to the table so that we could preserve all of those jobs. And at the same time, make sure that we are taking significant action on climate change. That is as important as everything else that we're talking about. These things all come together delicately, but importantly, in one major piece of legislation that we should pass in Illinois now.
Do you feel you're any closer than you were on middle of June when the legislature let down?
Well, nobody's put together, a new provision to add to the existing legislation. There have been a lot of conversations. I think the legislature needs to have its own hearings and its own discussions with one another in order to make sure that any changes that would be proposed are put forward and added to the existing legislation. But again, I really believe that we're very close.
Governor, yesterday you said you weren't too concerned about the new census data that released last week that revealed, some districts were orders of magnitude larger or smaller than each other. I mean, even independent consultants, it's not just Republicans who have a vested political interest. They say these districts clearly violate the constitutional principle of one person, one vote. So, I mean, can you defend the process now?
I don't mean to suggest that changes won't necessarily be needed. Indeed, the legislature is going to have to look at those numbers and make sure that they believe it's been done right and put forward new legislation if they believe that they should. But no, I think they're important. Listen, the Trump administration screwed up the census. Let's start with that. And that's delayed everything. It's caused so many issues for us to finally get to a point where we have this census data in front of us. It's, we've got to look at the census data. I think the legislature did the best that it could with the data that was available, given the constitutional requirements in Illinois, and put forward legislation that redistricted. Now we've got more data that's available. I think that's got to be taken into consideration. No doubt the legislature will do that, and they'll come back to me either with new legislation or not.
Isn't it time though for a commission, Governor?
Thank you.
Isn't it beyond the June 30th deadline?